Hey guys, welcome to today's video where I have a question for you. How many of you out there are getting a little bit tired of barking instructions every day? And I know a lot of business owners that are really good at that. They come in every day and the first thing that they do in the morning is they round up everybody and then they start barking. Okay, you do this, you do that. All right, number 1, number 2, number 3, and bark. And so, how many of you are getting a little bit tired of that? Inside this video, I'm going to share with you something almost the exact opposite and probably a lot less stressful as well. So before we get into that, I want to ask you something. Why do we bark? Why do business owners and leaders bark instructions? Number one, you have to remember this. Number one, we are seen as the go-to people. We've got all the information, we've got all the data, we've got all the knowledge, and all the solutions, so every time something happens, we're the go-to people. Someone bursts through our door and then we're always having answers for them, and by virtue, well, we've just been in the business for a long time. We've got the most experience. We started the whole thing. So naturally, it's easy for us to bark because we simply know what to do. But that's not exactly a good thing, because if we do that, we pretty much have ourselves a pretty much permanent position for this self-made job of ours, and that's going to keep us in the business forever. All right. Number 2, it's simply faster. It's simply faster to bark instructions versus have you go away, all right, and think about this and come back after a few days, when actually you could just get the solution and the answer right away, instantly, because you know what to do. So, but sometimes it's just faster. But I'm going to share with you, when it comes to barking instructions, a pretty tiring process. So what I'm going to share with you is the exact opposite. So I've got this question for you. How many of you have tried managing your company, managing your team by asking questions? How many of you have tried that? So just imagine this. The next time you have a disgruntled client or a customer that comes into your shop and something happens and your employees burst into the door and they say, "Oh my gosh, boss, this has happened. And he's so upset. We made a mistake with the order, blah, 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 blah." Listen out the problem, hear it out, and then before you get into your solution mode, and you ask a question. "So this sounds like a pretty interesting situation you have there. What do you think?" And then your employee is just gonna go, Did he just ask me a question? They're so used to just you spitting out exactly what they should do. It's almost technical. It's like a system. They come in with their little notepad. The minute they blah 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 all the problems out to you, they have their notepad there and they're ready to write down, number 1, do this, number 2, do this, number 3. And then this time my boss asked me to think about it. What do I think? What's my opinion? And you see, in that moment, if you don't really ask questions, in that moment you can see a state of confusion. It's almost as though your employee has no idea what to do. Did he just ask me what I think we should do? And this is the moment of truth, because a lot of employees are not used to being asked to think of what to do in times of crisis. Sometimes just stop short and just, "So what do you think?" Now, something is going to happen here. Your employees are going to keep coming in, and then they're going to keep, and every time you do that, it's training. You're going to keep asking them questions. "Okay, we have a certain issue over here. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" One thing is going to happen in the long term. In the long term, you're going to find that your employees are going to come and see you only when they have a solution in hand. So you know the saying, when you ask your employees not to bring you problems, but to bring you the solution as well? This is why. Because you only ask them questions. If you're busy barking, they're busy taking notes and not thinking about it. But Work on the premise. You see, work on the premise that your employees actually know what to do. Work on that base rather than the basis of my employees actually have no idea how to solve problems. They don't know what to do. And I'm the head honcho. I'm on my high, this nice little peak, this nice little mountain of mine. Every time you have a problem, bring it to me. You have a problem over there, bring it to me. I will solve all the problems. Now, it's really, really nice for a while, but after that, I know a lot of business owners that have done that for years and they're getting exhausted, and now they're saying, oh, get me off this mountain. Like, how do I get off? Coach, help me get my team to be able to solve problems as well as I do. And this is one very, very big thing. Instead of barking out answers and solutions, ask them the question, and they actually have all the answers for you. But this is the thing, guys, and I really want to share this with you. So there are so many benefits when you start asking questions. Number one, they start thinking about it. They have their own solutions, and sometimes their solutions could be better than ours. I can't deny that really when you start getting your team contributing, they've got pretty good suggestions, and sometimes, what did I think of that? And that's a really, really good place to be able to get to. Number two, they simply have more ownership. They're not just, how to handle this problem, this firefighting solution. They came up with some answers first, and then you get to hear, how does it sound? Is that the right thing to do? May I add on? So when you've heard their answer, you could add on as well. But one thing is happening in number two. There's a lot more accountability. They're not just saying, well, that's what he told me to do. That's what the boss told me to do. That's what she told me to do. And so therefore I'm doing it, and it didn't work, and so they take a lot more accountability when they are doing something in the company with you. And number three, and this is my favorite, when you ask them questions, you actually get to hear their answers. If you get to hear the answers, you get to hear how they react. You get to hear how they think. And this is especially important for you when you start trying to delegate your role as the business owner to managers. When you start having a second line, before you put a full force of getting your general manager in place, wedging a management position in between you and your team. A couple of years ago, you're probably the one managing the entire team. But when you start wedging managers in between, you got to make sure that you know as the owner how your managers think, and that's a question of process. So you got to know how they react to problems, how they think, what are their strengths, what are their shortcomings, and you get to identify that through asking questions. So there you have it. When you start asking more questions, you start becoming like a coach. It's like you're coaching your own company, yeah? But you can only do this when you get to a certain extent, when your business at a certain size. But you start asking questions because it's more empowering, it's more enabling versus having to instruct all the time, because then all the instructions only come from you, and you are pretty much that head honcho on that mountain peak forever. And then at some point you can't wait to get off, but a lot of it needs to be done in a process. So guys, there you have it. Asking questions, of course, is a lot less stressful. It does put a lot more trust in your team, and you're going to be able to enable and empower them more. Hit subscribe on this channel if you want to be able to get more tips and tricks like this, where I share over a very, very short 5 to 8 minutes, where I talk a little bit about a lot of instances that have happened with entrepreneurs that we coach, business owners that we've coached, whether you're 3 months into business, 3 years, or 10 years into business. All this stuff that I talk about here is going to be able to help you. Share this video if you feel anybody else can benefit from leading their team in a better way. Because guys, remember this, have a great business and have a great life, because being in business is about having more life. Take care. See you next week.